Good evening and welcome to yet another session of webinar wherein we have the support and help of ACCA. I'm sure by this time you would know that ACCA is, the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants and BIMTECH. We have come up with, should I say, a joint venture? No, that would not be the correct term. But the fact remains that we have jointly come out with a proposition for the students who have a commerce background or who are into CA or who have already cleared certain papers of the CA. We have decided to join hands to give them a management session, a management course, a management program. Today, we have with us two of the eminent personalities from the ACCA. Mr. Rahul Puri, he is the head of employer relations for India at the ACCA. And of course, his role involves contributing to the India employer strategy that we call, basically meaning thereby that the ACCA's profile with employers is talked about, he delivers the ACCA's global thought leadership initiatives, that basically the idea is that he's one of the influencers of ACCA in India. He's an MBA and overall he's got about 16 to 17 years of experience while working with ACCA. The second participant from ACCA is Krishan Mishra. Krishan Mishra is, and then before I forget, Rahul Puri is also one of the awardees in that top 100 contributors towards education in India, that award given to it, which incidentally, Krishan Mishra is also there. So I guess, both of them have been competing against each other in getting awards and accolades for ACCA. But that's the story for a different day. Krishan is the man in charge for North and East in the ACCA. In fact, the roots of our relationship with ACCA go back to his interactions with us. And I should say he was pushy enough to ensure that Professor Rahul and I got into the entire process. And here we are at this moment. Professor Rahul Singh, as we would say, a war veteran, as my director was talking about yesterday, saying that the professors of BIMTECH, he is a professor of strategy. He's a professor who's handled various roles, initiated different courses in the organization, and presently he's there with us to help us on this ACCA venture that we have today. In fact, Professor Rahul, sir, now that we've just talked about you, what exactly is this PGCM course all about? I mean, why are we creating a hype about it? I mean, getting two senior people from ACCA to talk about it, and you are there, I'm there. What exactly is this PGCM program?
Right. Sure. Thank you so much, Professor Pratik, for having me in this webinar. First of all, I would like to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Rahul Puri and Mr. Krishan Mishra. Thank you very much for sparing your time and being part of this webinar, a very important webinar. Probably this is one of those special webinars where we are contributing our efforts to create a better awareness about what possibilities professionals can have to grow their career. So the idea that ACCA and BIMTECH, let me first get into the roots of what we have as a program today, and that is partnership of ACCA and Birla Institute of Management Technology. You already indicated, Professor Priyadarshi, about the partnership. Let me put it again that collaborating with an organization which has lived for more than 100 years, I think it is almost 115 years plus now, that is not very easy. Because you can understand an organization having very high energy and one of the highest repute in the world. I think ACCA is already working in more than 180 countries. That level of credentials do not come easy, right? So I remember somebody asked Mr. Summers, who was the president of Harvard University then, that can you open Harvard Business School in Gulf area, whatever you need we will give you $1 billion or $2 billion. And he said, you can give me $1 billion, but can you also give me 200 years to create it? So Harvard University takes 200.
Very valid point, actually. Yes.
Yeah, and that's what, the history that ACCA has. When BIMTECH started discussing, because of your efforts to ACCA, I think we were building in relationships with an organization which has one of the highest credibility, not only in the accounting profession worldwide, but also indicating how governance is reflected. And this coming from Birla Group of Companies from India, which is having this business school, Birla Institute of Management Technology, talking to ACCA, which is a chartered institution from UK. I think there were two organizations of high credibility, BIMTECH as a business school and ACCA with a higher credibility in the industry. It was our natural inclination that if we get an opportunity to work with ACCA, as a business school, we can contribute better in society, better in terms of manpower credentials to those who want to work hard and who want to grow, right? So this is with this intention we approached ACCA. And I think ACCA welcomed us, not negotiating any variables of credentials. We continued qualifying that because BIMTECH also has been a established business school. But I remember that we had to go through rounds of processes to qualify the accreditation and understand how the quality is maintained. We are in process and in the final stage of the top accreditation process from the world in the world in business education. But we have not been in the accreditation process by a practice organization. And that's what we learned from ACCA. Probably this was a great collaboration, putting theory into practice. And that's how the conceptualization of PGCM came in. So the collaboration was happening. How can we bring in such an important certification offered by ACCA into the mainstream curriculum of business? And let me present the gap here. While I was going through the literature, and I think ACCA is very, very strong in its research outcome. And I have been going through many reports, including the future of work and the digitalization report, which ACCA has come up with. And I found there are three very important terms: accountancy, finance, and management. And this is where we got attracted that, if accountancy and finance are the core strengths of ACCA, and management from the governance point of view is a strong pillar of ACCA, how can we build it? How can we contribute theory of management to those professionals who are in accounting profession, right? So probably this brought BIMTECH close to ACCA, and we started discussing. And fortunately, ACCA showed interest, and with support of two ACCA leaders were representing Indian office and also the head office, Ms. Helen and Mr. Khan. I think we started building up how should we create a program which can probably support those professionals who are already underway to ACCA, and they should also develop management skills, right? So as a professional, you are a great functional and vertical professional in accounting, but how can we contribute from theorization point of view that you are having the management skills too, so that the career of an accounting professional is just not about a vertical, but it becomes it makes a bit of space within the organization, just not a vertical. So with this background, we thought, why not create a degree program or a diploma program, which serves both very strong knowledge on what ACCA verticals are doing, and also the courses which will develop their skills and knowledge in the management domain, right? And so we conceptualize PGCM, Postgraduate Certificate in Management in International Accounting, which is equivalent to what professional accounting is doing. But international accounting was conceptualized so that the degree, the diploma contributions coming from ACCA also captures the IFRS issues, and so it is wider in range, right? So that's the background. Since you asked me specific detail for PGCM, let me present in 2-3 quick bullet points, because our agenda today is future skills and how do we connect it. PGCM is, as you also mentioned in the foundation speech that you had, this is primarily meant for those who are already in ACCA program and they need a little bit push on management side. So the professionals who already have completed 9 papers are the best suited candidates for PGCM program, or those who have completed CA and they're looking for a management domain along with ACCA certifications, right? So there's some equivalence process, or at least the recognition to equivalence, which is being allowed by the ACCA program, right? This is a 13-month online program. And BIMTECH, because it is category 1 institution in India recognized by AICTE. By the way, there are only 2 institutions in India which are category 1. XLRI, as you know, XLRI is another institution coming from Jamshedpur, very renowned business school, and BIMTECH. These are the only 2 institutions in the country as of now with category 1 credentials. And so we can offer online AICTE approved certification with inputs and the courses included from ACCA. So the 4 courses of ACCA and 6 courses of management, highly applied knowledge, because students or participants, I should say, have been in industry for a long time and they are still working. So the knowledge transfer has to be more applied. So while there are strong theoretical inputs, courses like simulation are very strong application-oriented courses, right? So capstone simulation, application-oriented courses like design thinking. These are the tools and techniques and experiments and applied sciences which prepare students or participants to the problem-solving approach. And that's what is needed. These participants have great skills on application, which is vertical application. And if they learn how the decision-making process happens, I think there is a great mix of application and managerial skills, right? So this is the background which helped, the baseline survey helped us to create PGCM. And that's where I'll stop. I think we'll pick up more inputs in form of questions, or maybe some of them are already addressed when it comes to how this program is linked to industry. I think we have 2 very important professionals from ACCA, and I would like to hear them as well. So I'll stop here on the background of PGCM and get back to you, Professor Pritarshi.
I guess you've covered the entire background story, and I'm in no position to even claim that let's go back into flashback and see what happened at that stage, So from the perspective of our viewers and listeners, it was a fantastic recapitulation. But from my perspective, thoda sa to chhod dete, sir. I could have taken it forward, But fine, thank you very much, sir. And on a more serious note, the session specifically deals with the future skills for professional accounting experts, And we accept and we admit that there are certain skills that a professional accountant or a professional expert needs when it comes to the leadership and strategic behavior that we have. Now, in such a situation, the best persons available to us are the people from ACCA who are here to respond to our queries. I will start off immediately, and Mr. Rahul Puri, my first question to you, sir, is that you've done your Masters in Business Administration from MDI Gurgaon.
Yes.
Now, in your profile as someone who was working for ACCA,
yes,
what changes have you seen personally before and after this MBA?
Good question. I think for me, when I look back and in my interactions with employers, we interact a lot with CFOs, HROs, learning and development professionals, trying to understand, how the dynamics of education are changing, even for that matter, what is it that they want to see coming from the academia in terms of skill set, to be able to enable jobs to be done better, to be able to support employers in their growth agenda. So I think one of the key transformations that I see, especially from the time that I have completed my MBA, is more of an applicability in terms of real world case scenarios being a lot more prominent in terms of education, in terms of being able to apply those skills, apply the theoretical knowledge back to work, has become all the more prominent. I think that's the significant change. The second change that I see is the while the technical concepts of whatever you may do, be it a finance professional, or maybe a marketing professional or a sales professional, if your concepts are correct, that is a good starting point. But over a period of time, I think you need to be able to understand data, use data to be able to make complex decisions, to be able to make business decisions which will help support the business and the growth. But at the same point of time, start thinking from a strategic lens. Look at the business from a strategic lens. I think that is where the shift has now taken place, that employers are now looking for more knowledge of data and an orientation towards strategy.
Okay, that is something which now I need to take up with Krishan. Krishan, can you just simplify what Rahul was trying to tell me, that if and when the PGCM program is implemented, can we see such qualitative change in the prospective candidates for our course?
Thank you, sir. And it seems to be a very, very relevant question, that how we can see that qualitative change in a program like this. Now, talking about the PGCM program, sir, Rahul sir has already explained about this program, that what are the components of this program. Now, a student who has completed the 9 papers of ACCA, or maybe somebody who has done any other professional qualification like Indian Chartered Accountancy, can look forward to pursuing this program. Interestingly, this program will cover all the gamuts of financial accounting to business and technology, to performance management, to financial reporting, to the advanced level papers and leadership related papers. Now, why leadership and management related papers are really very important for a finance and accounting professional, in my view, is number one, that if you look at the current situation, not only in our country, across the world, the majority of the people who have preferred to take the top job in the organization, which is the job of a CEO or a CFO, they come from a finance and accountancy background, right? There was a research which was done recently by Economic Times, which clearly indicated that the 56% of new CEOs, they come from a finance and accountancy background.
Now, why a huge percentage you're talking about? I mean, more than half.
That's right. That's right. And when they are preferred, then there should be some reason why they are preferred. Now, if you look at the P&L account and balance sheet for a sales guy or a business development guy like me, if we look at the sales revenues, at the top, right? And for an accountancy or a finance guy, he'll look at the bottom, right? So, and if we look at the bottom, you see profitability there. And bottom line is actually more important for the organizations going forward. And that's the reason why a finance and accountancy professional is preferred to take up that top job. Now, the way in which the accountancy jobs are changing, I'll just quote some examples here, that they were days when accountants used to work in silos, right? They were just supposed to do their number crunching job, submit the reports, and tell the management that you take the decisions. Later on, they started taking the decisions on their own. And now they have to go to the public at large and talk to them and explain those decisions for the future, right? So that is the kind of scenario which is changing. And to do all these things, it is actually very important to look at a program which can actually give them the, I would say, the foundation of accountancy and the knowledge towards strategy and management, which will actually take them to that level for the future. So I think we are creating a fantastic program which would be a game changer for the future course of accountancy and finance in this country. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Krishan, the percentage that you've quoted, 56%, is awfully high percentage to be in a finance market. I mean, look at the corporate honchos who are going to be the CEOs of tomorrow. I mean, 56% is awesome.
That's right, sir. And in fact, this is there. You can search on Google very well. You'll get the
No, no.
report
I
there.
mean,
Yeah. And
there's no question of disbelieving you or
correct.
going in for a check as such. The fact remains that at the end of the day, the CEO is accountable not only to the employees but now to the public at large, as you said. And of
That's
course,
right.
he must have the wherewithal and the tools to handle that. Absolutely, point noted. Point noted. In fact. On that point, on the point of employment, I'll just shift towards Mr. Rahul Puri. Sir, do
Yes.
you think that someone who is qualified, who's already cleared the papers of ACCA, and in our context, when we say the PGCM course, do
Yeah.
you think he will have a better standing as compared to somebody else coming in from a different stream or maybe purely managerial category or purely accountancy category?
Yeah, good question. I think I'll probably want to answer it by sharing some statistics on employability in India, especially for ACCA, because that's something that we've really been focusing on. And ACCA has its own job portal called jobs.accaglobal.com, where we encourage employers to come and post jobs and be able to recruit talent. Now, in 2016-17, we had approximately 75 jobs on the portal. And over a period of time, of course, with a lot of efforts, we were able to see that employers are now taking cognizance of the kind of competencies that ACCA is able to help develop in a student. And the number of jobs actually started growing at almost more than 200%, over 200% every year. We closed last fiscal year with having posted over 3,700 jobs. And in fact, just to share with you that even during this pandemic, the demand has actually really spiked up, because we have been able to post close to 2,000 plus jobs in the market as on date for this fiscal year starting April. And just in fact, yesterday we completed our fourth season of the virtual career fair, where we had 13 employers and over 3,000 registrations, basically students, affiliates, and members coming from ACCA looking
I'm
for a.
sorry. I'll just interrupt you.
Yeah.
If I understand correctly, what you are suggesting is that the employment opportunities for people with such a qualification have gone up. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely. I was about to come to that. The purpose of sharing these statistics was to be able to put into context that the demand has actually grown to an extent where employers are now looking for ACCA talent, and of course someone who comes with an additional qualification, that of the BIMTECH qualification that we're speaking about. I think that will have a little bit of an edge in the market, because that will be perceived or looked upon as a holistic education, or completion of the qualification as a holistic approach that the individual has taken or the student has taken.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic. Rahul sir, having listened to the two experts from ACCA, I think it's time that we brought in our big guns. And so there you are at this moment, sir. Sir, I need your support immediately, sir. Can you just let us know what exactly is the contribution of BIMTECH vis-a-vis the papers of this particular course that we have talked about?
Sure. Thank you so much for this question, because that creates the composition of the content that will be offered in PGCM. So as I was explaining, once somebody has completed 9 courses in ACCA, one is already close to the completion of the certification. And that's where the functional expertise is already developed. And with the experience, somebody is looking towards a career path. And career path means little bit of management skills and understanding any issue with a macro level or big picture approach. So these are the things which go as a right input with an MBA degree. Because we are not taking up the complete MBA degree, as Mr. Puri indicated and Mr. Mishra indicated, that there has to be curriculum which is helping somebody, a professional, to learn the leadership requirements, problem solving skills in a macro level picture, and a professional communication environment. And how do you professionally communicate is very important in many organizations. I remember Kellogg's took 15 years project to change itself from a functional MBA program to the most reputed consulting firm MBA program.
Wow, that is some.
So the transformation, and they only included communication courses. Don Jacob, who was dean for 28 years of Kellogg's business school, he introduced communication and strategy courses, which are problem-solving oriented and communication oriented, right? And that's how Kellogg's became #1 choice for all consulting firms in the world, including McKinsey. McKinsey and BCG and PwC or KPMG, everyone, almost 60% of the professionals came from Kellogg's, right? So the idea is to create a cohort which is already prepared on ACCA certification, because certification is examination based and very, very demanding on its content side, right? So the examination will ensure that the professional knows what accounting principles and practices are. What BIMTECH contributes is how do we teach a person to be a little more abstract for the decision-making process through the courses that we have. Correct. And be organized and disciplined in the courses, which will help you to be a better leader, right?
Absolutely.
Communicator. So this is the structure that we have. And I'm sure program will have a lot of contributions.
Yeah, I'm more than sure about it, sir. It's just that the combination of BIMTECH and ACCA for this particular course seems too good, So I was slightly worried, and therefore my questions to you and of course to the gentleman from ACCA. We just have a question popping up, and Swapnil Dutt Vyas is here with us. Instantly, just to update the panelists, Swapnil has been a regular participant in our webinars. And Swapnil has a question, and he asks, if anybody would like to take work of accounts, up to which level independently can he take it without doing CA? Now, this is purely a question related to CA and accountancy, and I leave it either up to Krishan Mishra ji or to Rahul Puri ji to give me a response on this.
Okay, so I'll take this question. Swapnil, very good question. One point here that in case you're looking forward to a long-term career, right? So getting a job is not difficult in the field of accountancy. Anybody can get a job. If somebody has done commerce, say in graduation, he can very well get into accountancy. But there is a difference between job and a career in the long term. So you can get a job on day one, but you'll not be able to make a long-term career for yourself with just having a simple degree, because post that you need to have some professional qualifications like ACCA and the kind of program that we are going to offer through BIMTECH, wherein you'll be able to see a growth in your career. And practically quoting one example here, that you meet someone today and this person says that I'm an executive with XYZ company. 15 years later, again, you meet this person and ask him that what do you do? And the person says, I'm still an executive with XYZ company. So which means that in last 15 years, this guy has been doing just a job. He has not been able to grow in his career, right? Because career is long-term and there is a ladder which is there in terms of you moving to the next level in the career. And with such kind of courses, you'll be able to move ahead. So joining a program is, so getting into a job is not very difficult. However, to make a career, you need some support. You need to have arms and ammunitions, I would say. If you send a Fauji to a war front, without any arms and ammunitions, right? So he will just stand like Shah Rukh Khan there. He will not be able to do anything else, and he will be killed, right? So what is important is to give him some arms and ammunition, and these certifications actually become your arms and ammunition in the corporate warfare. Yeah.
I guess that answers your question, Swapnil. In fact, during the process, while you were responding to Swapnil, Mohammed Mateen has just come up with a question, and he wants to understand if has ACCA certification been accepted in auditing and certifying financial statements?
Okay, so Rahul, you would like to answer this, or
I can help answer this. So in terms of okay, let's first take a step back and look at ACCA in itself in terms of what is our ambition and aspiration. So in the first place, ACCA, especially in India, when I talk about the Indian context, is here to be able to help provide an opportunity to a student who wants to develop a career in finance and accountancy. So and as a result, the qualification our objective is to be able to make the qualification accessible, right? If you actually look around in the market, there are so many graduates or maybe so many professionally qualified chartered accountants who have the ability to be able to sign the books of accounts and sign off on the statements, financial statements. So would you be wanting to add yourself to that cohort, or would you actually want a global career where through a professional qualification such as ACCA, you're not just able to do take up a career in finance and accountancy, but open up horizons beyond India, or even for that matter in India? I've just shared with you the kind of demand that is there for ACC in India. So to answer your question, I think in India, our objective is not to be able to get ACCA members to sign the books of accounts. The objective is very different, but rather at a very broader picture, be able to give them a career of their choice and opportunities of their choice and open horizons for them across the world.
Just to add to what Rahul has said, sir, if you look at the auditing jobs, there are two types of jobs. There is one external audit, there is one internal audit, right? And there are a lot of people who are being preferred for the internal audit jobs in India also. In fact, there are people who are signing the reports, balance sheets and P&L accounts of various other countries while sitting in India, right? I know a lot of examples wherein people are in Jaipur, Chennai, Calcutta, and signing the reports for Australia, Europe, and other parts of the world, right? So you can very well look at doing such things in future, because we already have a mutual recognition agreement with around 78 plus countries worldwide, wherein the students will have an opportunity to look forward to in terms of career.
And that's fantastic. And I also understand that most of at least the big four prefer students with ACCA backgrounds as far as employment opportunities are concerned. So my only response to Mohammed Mateen would be that, then in such a situation, a lot more companies would pick up the ACCA students as compared to the perception that very few companies pick up students with ACCA qualifications.
Can I quickly add something here, if you don't mind?
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think this was very important question by Mohammed, and I think he must have understood the importance of any degree or certification, professional certification. So the point that probably has been made here is, every certification is unique in its presentation. So MBA is doing something what other degrees are not doing, right? Law is doing something what few other degrees are not doing. ACCA is doing something what few other degrees or certifications are not doing, right? So it's about the, I think what Christian was saying is great. It's about the career option and the opportunities which Rahul presented, when 13 companies coming purely online and 3,000 candidates presenting themselves for recruitment opportunities. These kind of opportunities in COVID era, at least, I have not heard. Right?
Yeah. If I can also just add, it's not the big four. There is a lot of this perception about the fact that, okay, if I do ACCA, I'll only be doing an audit job. I'll only be doing or working with a big four. Interestingly, in our experience of having worked with employers, there are so many diverse employers that we work with, which is not just the big four, which is also companies coming from FMCG, companies coming from pharma, companies from the food industry per se, and also a little bit of the technology companies. So there's a huge diversity, a huge mix of companies that we are now able to attract purely because of the competencies and the qualification that is available.
I think, I hope that Mohammed Mateen is satisfied with the responses that he's got from the panel. In fact, that just brings me to the next important point when we talk about employability and we talk about the remuneration that a candidate would be expecting. Can we talk about that a little bit, Mr. Rahul Puri, please?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of employability, I've already shared some numbers with you in terms of the demand that is there, and till about last year, obviously all the jobs that we posted, we were not even able to fulfill all of them because there is so much of demand coming in. when you look at someone who's completed at least 9 paper, they get a good starting salary, which is almost at par with the industry. There are comparatives. I don't want to put a figure or a base benchmark to it right now, because that can be taken and misconstrued. But it is at par with the industry. In fact, over the last couple of years, with the efforts of the team, we've also been able to talk to employers and get the bar raised, get the salaries increased, almost by about 30% at times. So our ambition is to be able to make sure that the qualification is not only able to attract the right set of students to be able to do the qualification, but for them to have a career opportunity which is at par with the industry, and hence also remuneration is at par with the industry.
Well, it makes sense, but there are still doubting Thomases who would like to understand as to, as an accountant, how do you think clearing some papers of management? Okay, fine, BIMTECH is a big name, so we are getting this qualification. But how do you think that as an accountant, this whole package of PGCM would actually help someone?
I think it's a very interesting combination. I think Krishan and Dr. Singh also referred to the fact that when you start your career, or when you're in your career journey, now that employers are looking for the leadership orientation, the strategic view, the combination of having technical skills on finance and accountancy is a great value on top. And in fact, I think Krishan mentioned that if you look at the global numbers of CFOs transitioning to become CEOs, that is more than half of the, if you take a cohort of 100, more than half of those 100 CFOs are now transitioning to become CFOs, and that's purely because of the aspect of business understanding, commercial acumen, and a lot of communication skills. So I think a good cohesive competence that we are able to build, not just through the ACCA qualification, but also through this PGCM course, will enable them to fast track their career in the long run.
Okay, that makes sense. And obviously, I'm more than sure that a lot of groundwork and homework would have gone under this entire process. I would like to direct my next question to Professor Rahul. Sir, when we talk about the COVID era, and we say that things are being run online, but if you remember, this entire process started even before the COVID era had come into the picture. Now, how do you think that BIMTECH would be in a position to implement or to impart education, so as to say, to students for this particular course, keeping in mind the limitations of social distancing, the physical challenges, and of course now presently the post-COVID era, sir?
You rightly said. I mean, the plan was not plan did not change because of the COVID. It was already conceptualized an year back, and that's how we are slowly moving to create this program. The principles of the program are very clear: hard work by professor and students, and the value creation out of the program. So whichever way the methodology of delivery is going to be executed, in this case, it is going to be online. I think we are going to ensure that rigor of the program is not compromised and not negotiated, right? So we are going online. The material is going to be online. So we are having the ACCA books being delivered through ACCA recognized partners who have great content online in form of video and PDF book form. Question papers are online, quizzes are online. Assignments for the management courses, we have done the same way. So we are taking everything online, and actually some of the books which come from very, high credential publishers like McGraw-Hill or Pearson, we are using their books. They are globally reputed material, book written by great professors. Okay, so the material is going to be pre-decided. The quality of the professors is going to be pre-decided. They are mostly BIMTECH professors who have been offering industry-oriented courses for almost last 25, 30 years. They are very experienced professors, right? And the simulation courses, which are kind of capstone, is being run by almost 600 business schools in the world.
Wow.
Right? So these are the credentials of the courses, and the delivery is going to be online, of course, but there is a lot of engagement between professor and the participant. So Online has been decided to save time for the participants, and somebody who is committing so much time getting better ready. MBA is not about just training of a course. MBA is also about working 16 hours a day or 15 hours a day, right? So that kind of training, we thought online engagement is a good idea. There are certain expectations on weekly basis, and I'm sure since this model has been successful in last 20 years, online degree is not a problem. And professionals don't have to leave their job. They create better value of their degree and profession, and probably they are creating a great career ahead. So online is a good option that way. That's how ACCA agreed to our proposal to go online.
No, in fact, on that note, when you talk about the rigors of and the qualities of an MBA, I have another question coming in, and it says that, and I'll direct it to Krishan, of course. Will the recruiter have a confusion when it comes to judging someone with an MBA finance degree vis-a-vis someone with an ACCA qualification?
Very good question. I think Mateen or someone has asked this question. I was able to
Yeah,
read that.
it is Mohammed Mateen, and honestly, now I believe that he should have an interaction with us at BIMTECH, and I'm more than sure that we'll take it to the logical conclusion.
100%. I agree with you. So, Mateen, fantastic question. And talking about the MBA Finance and the ACCA program, both the programs have their own relevance and their own importance. Only difference is that if you look at the MBA in Finance, there is a limited portion of finance which is being taught during two semesters, I would say. When you look at a full-fledged ACCA qualification, it's a professional accountancy course wherein we talk about everything from financial accounting to management accounting to costing to taxation to law to financial reporting to audit to financial management and then leadership and business reporting, and then further we have got advanced papers on all these subjects. So what happens is the understanding of an accountant when it comes to accountancy and finance per se would be much better with a professional accountancy program. In fact, a lot of people after doing their MBA finance get into ACCA, right? So the reason is that they have not gone through all those things which are there in a professional accounting course. The second thing is, so recruiter will not be confused. I can tell you that recruiter would be more than happy to look at both the candidates. There are jobs for both the candidates in the market, so don't worry about that. It's just that, as I mentioned, that when you want to grow and make your career better in the field of accountancy and finance, after doing an MBA finance, also you have to go and look for a professional accountancy course later. So why not do it now? Right. So that's what we are trying to do through PGCM. We are giving you this opportunity to do it right away to take your career ahead in the long term. Yeah.
But Krishan, tell me something. If I were to compare an MBA finance and a CA for that matter, because this doubt is also there, and Swapnil has been good enough to ask this question as such. Does the weightage for a CA matter vis-a-vis the MBA finance, or which do you think is will be more prized possession, so as to say?
So, see, it's very clear that there are various jobs which are there. As I was mentioning, that there are roles which are there in the field of accountancy and finance. For certain roles, people with some background are preferred. Like, for example, when it comes to taxation, right, or for that matter, doing audits, etc., or financial reporting, a chartered accountant or a professional accountant who has done ACCA would be preferred. But when it comes to say something related to risk management, etc., there people from the MBA finance background are also taken. However, if they want to make their career in the rest of the fields, they have to come back and do the other program. So there is a slight difference. There is a thin line between both the programs. Although obviously chartered programs are more rigorous and more long-term in nature, with a lot of subjects which are being put there, right? So I'm not saying that the MBA finance doesn't do that, although there is a limitation to which the subjects are being taught in MBA finance. That's the only difference.
Okay, excellent. In fact, on that point, I'll just go back to Professor Rahul Singh. Sir, you've talked about the methodology, the pedagogy, and all the other things about this particular course. Sir, one thing still remains unclear. Sir, who would be taking the examination, and what would be the process of this examination, sir? Sir, you are muted, sir.
I'm extremely sorry. As far as ACCA question papers are concerned, so preparation is done by us, but the participants have to undertake the ACCA examination. So that's very clear, right? And we have put it very clearly in our brochure and on the website as well. For the management courses, BIMTECH question papers are the assessment tools. So, professor, in a management degree, there is, and that's what I was reflecting on, that there's a lot of engagement happening between the professor and the student in the format that we have. So in the management degree, it's not the final examination only which makes a difference. Actually, about 50 to 60% evaluation is done as internal evaluation. That is done directly by the professor on weekly basis or fortnightly basis in a 3-month term or 2-month term, right? So there are a lot of case studies, simulation assessments, assignments, quizzes, and minor tests, which are evaluated by professors, and then a final examination happen. So there is an opportunity to present views, even if it is wrong, as long as it is logical, evaluation is very, very positive.
Correct.
And that's what is the process of decision making. You have to have evidence-based outcome. So because of that requirement, training on the management courses is not a quiz based or just question based. It is actually case study, pedagogy, simulation, pedagogy, and so on. Right. So for management courses, BIMTECH does it. For ACCA papers, ACCA examination is the final.
So basically what you're telling me that the rigor of the particular course would be maintained and ensured by both BIMTECH and ACCA.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes.
Okay, that's great to understand, sir. Krishan, can you just explain on the potential, the target group that we're talking about? Because many a times the students or the people with commerce background who are already practitioners and working, they do not have a clarity as to how to go about it.
So it's a very relevant question, and the target group for this program, as I had mentioned in the past also, that is very clear. We'll have people who have completed their 9 papers of ACCA, and they are at this strategic professional level. They might be doing strategic business leader, strategic business reporting, or the advanced level papers, or they might have completed the full ACCA qualification. They can get into this program. The other people are the people who have done their professional accountancy courses from other institutes like ICAI, the CA qualified people. They can also get into this program. Right, so these are the major target groups for this one. Why we created this program, and I'll talk about the advisory council also. So students can look at the advisory council of this program in the brochures, which is very clearly indicative of the kind of people who are associated with us, especially people from Ernst & Young, from KPMG, from Grant Thornton, from PwC. Right, the major organizations are there in this particular list. This program has been created based on the suggestion which has come from the majority of the big 4 organizations and the others. They only said that we have got people who are pursuing, say, a professional accountancy course. However, when they want to go forward and look forward to a career later, they face difficulty. Right, they need to do an MBA later on. They leave their jobs and move out and do it. Why can't you create a program wherein you can actually give them an opportunity to pursue that program alongside their jobs, right? So they will not be leaving their jobs and they can pursue this program. So we worked through that, and BIMTECH and ACCA together, we co-created this program for those people who don't want to leave their jobs now, who are already in the field of accountancy and finance, and they would like to go through the leadership and management related skills, which is the future skill requirement. Now, talking about the skills, let me quote some skills which are really very relevant as per the current requirements of the industry. Number one is nowadays the accountants are supposed to become co-pilots. And one interesting fact that both the pilots are important. Co-pilot is also important, and the pilot who is flying the plane is also important. They carry the same designation and same weightage. It's just that the other person is known as a co-pilot. Right. So a co-pilot's role is so important that he has to be there supporting the pilot who is flying the plane. In the similar way, the role of a finance and accountancy expert is to support his CEO in flying the organization's plane in the long term. So it becomes a very, very important skill set. COVID has taught us to be agile and to be adaptable, right? So that's something which is really very important. And actually, and this adaptability is coming through the digital skills, right? Talking about employability, as Rahul was mentioning, employability has two words here, sir. One is employment, second is ability. People normally focus about employment, they forget about ability, right? We would like to focus on both. We will create that employment opportunity for you, for the students in the long term. That's not a worry. Rahul has been working really well. We have already created more than 2,000 jobs this year, and we are going to surpass the previous year's numbers also. But what I want to say here is that the ability, which is really very important as well, come through the support that we provide through BIMTECH and ACCA together. In fact, we will work on the placement opportunities for all the candidates who pursue both our programs in the long term, and we will support them together as BIMTECH and ACCA. And BIMTECH is also known very well for its placement in the similar way we are. So I think we are going to take care of both the things for the long term for all the students.
I guess you covered the major portions and almost the entire stage as such. I just have one last lingering query that is there. We talked about the big four. We talked about n number of organizations, but just between you and me, do they actually support people like you and me, who are there to ensure that students with good accountancy and management skills are up for employment opportunities?
So one interesting fact that as we are desperate to place our students with those organizations, in the similar way, those organizations are also desperate to get good people on board. Right, so we are fulfilling actually both of our requirements. I would say we currently work with 7,291 plus employers globally, and these employers work with us.
That is a huge number. That is a huge number.
That's right, sir. And Rahul will add on to this, but I just wanted to quote here that these employers work with us for three things. Number one, they obviously come and recruit the people who have completed the ACCA qualification. They also come to us and say that, why don't you come and train the people who are pursuing something else or who do not have a professional qualification? So we do that also. And number three, they come and talk to us and participate in these kind of webinars and events and the research work that we do, so that the qualification remains relevant and innovative. So I would say that although we are 116 years young, sir, as Rahul sir was mentioning, right? We are 116 years young. And why we are young is that we actually ensure that we are innovative, as the students are innovative, as the students are passionate, so we are also passionate. They are creative, we are also creative, and they are looking forward to a career. We are there to provide that career to them. So that's why we're young, and we will remain as young as this only 100 years later also.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Just a piece of information for participants and viewers is that the listeners and the viewers who are registered with us, we have already mailed the feedback form to them at their registered email IDs. They can take it at leisure and send back the feedback, after which participation certificate would be sent to them. Now, before I close down, because we are just about reaching our normal allotted time. Any last thoughts, Mr. Rahul Puri?
Thank you. I think just to first add to what Christian was saying, I think in the market, when you go and speak to employers, there's this ever demanding need for talent and newer talent that comes forth every time. So every time we speak to a new employer, they're really while they might have heard about ACCA, but they entirely do not know about the kind of competencies that we're able to develop. And like Christian mentioned, that we leverage our opportunity to be able to discuss with them on some of our research that we do, and some of the areas that we help develop in the form of a professional accountant through the qualification. So in terms of my suggestion or maybe final words would be really to encourage students to be able to take up a program like the PGCM, because this gives you really an excellent opportunity to not just become a professional accountant, but look at holistic skills that you'll be able to, and competencies that you'll be able to develop for the long-term future and remain relevant from an employability standpoint.
Excellent. You nailed, actually hit the nail on the head, and Christian, any last thoughts?
Only one, sir, and I will quote something here that a doctor is a doctor anywhere in the world. An engineer is an engineer anywhere in the world. When it comes to accountants, they are always considered to be local accountants, right? Because every country has got a local body for professional accountancy. The good thing with ACCA is that ACCA is a ACCA anywhere in the world.
Wow,
Right, so
that sums up the entire scenario given that we've talked about in the last hour or so. Rahul sir, any last thoughts?
Absolutely. On the lines what Mr. Puri and Christian said, I think the opportunities are there. We need to look at the right kind of accelerator that I'm looking in my career. And sometimes accelerators are there, but we're not able to identify it. So it's important that we research about it and take a wise decision. So this webinar is about helping them to take a wise decision.
Absolutely, sir. And I think on that note, I should close down, except that there is a query from one of our viewers, Roy Diaz. And just to remind you, Roy, the reason why the feedback form is asking you that you require permission is that you're not registered when we started off this particular session. Having said that, yes, it will be sent to you, and we'll ensure that we have your feedback on that. With that, I would like to wrap it up. Thank you, Mr. Rahul Puri. Thank you, Krishan. Thank you, Professor Rahul Singh, for making this such a lively and interactive session. I'm grateful to people like Mohammed Mateen and of course, Swapnil, that they came up with their questions, sought clarifications, and those people who have been listening and viewing our program for the last hour or so. Thank you very much. I'll personally ensure that any doubts, any queries that you have regarding the PGCM program at BIMTECH, please log on to our website, either the pgpx.com, pgpx.bimtech.co.in, or the BIMTECH website as such. Ask queries, or else there are phone numbers designated with the people's name who will respond to your queries. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
thank you everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.